I'm as motivated, if not more motivated than ever, to find success.
I never thought I'd make it to where I'm at today.
You pour everything into it every week. You reset and pour it back in again.
You want to dominate every race.
We feel as though we're right on target to go out there and repeat as champions again.
I've won a few championships, and if you want to come up and take it from me, you're going to have to do all that stuff to get there.
The playoffs in play at Chicagoland Speedway, and in just over an hour and a half's time, we will know what the starting field is for the first of 10 races in the 2017 championship. Welcome to NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series qualifying presented by Ford Performance. Playoff leaderboard looks like this. Martin Truex Jr. with all of those playoff points piled up on the upper left, but down on the lower right-hand side, drivers who are very much competing with each other because 4 of them will have to go home after round 1. And how do we know it's the playoffs? Well, Dave Burns here along with Steve Letarte and Jeff Burton. There is anger already. And in 2017, how do you get your anger out? A Twitter war.
Well, Dave, here it is. Started innocently enough. Jeff Gluck of JeffGluck.com sent a little tweet out talking about Toyotas being top 4. Well, Brad Keselowski responded, said, hey, we're in for a rude awakening. NASCAR never let a manufacturer get this far ahead since the 70s. A little bit of rebuttal for some other guys.
Well, Cole Pearn wanted to know if he was around in the 70s, and then Denny Hamlin threw his 2 cents in about you should concentrate in your own program. And I'll give you a little hint, guys. Kyle Busch, he had a response, but it wasn't even appropriate for television, so it was excellent. But already, here we are, the round of 16, race 1. We haven't even had competition. Qualifying hasn't even rolled off yet. Except old feuds are firing back up. It's the playoffs. It's serious. 4 teams won't advance out of the round of 16, but I think these drivers are already looking ahead all the way to Miami. They want to know who the championship could be.
You know what I think part of the problem was? Idle time. There were 4.5 hours between this morning's practice and this afternoon's qualifying.
Well, without a doubt, that has got them fired up. But the other thing that got them fired up is practice speeds from earlier. Toyotas took the top 4 spots. The favorites are showing again why they are the favorite. They have speed, Jeff. I'm not sure it's going to be any different here in qualifying. Even Daniel Suarez, a non-playoff Toyota, ended up there in the top 4.
Yeah, and that's what has Brad Keselowski so upset. He thinks Toyota has a major advantage, but you know, the question is why. And a lot of people in the garage say, well, Toyota's been working hard, putting a lot of effort into it. Brad thinks that NASCAR's given Toyota more than they should have given. So, you know, who knows what the truth is. Normally, it turns out to be work and effort. That's normally what happens here. But, you know, why would Brad Keselowski make these comments? It's him against a lot of other people.
Right.
So, and when I look at it, I think that he doesn't think they have enough speed. So why not try something? Get them off their game. Get them thinking about something else. Try to get in their head a little bit. Brad Keselowski is one against all those Toyotas, but if you can get them off their game, get them thinking about something else, distracted, maybe that'd be an advantage.
It's old school, Dave. A manufacturer battle. I feel like we are in the 70s of NASCAR.
And both of those manufacturers have won this year, and almost equally so. Meanwhile, in the Chevrolet camp, let's hear how Austin Dillon is doing. He's standing by with Parker Kligerman.
Right, Dave. He was actually laughing at some of the Twitter images there. What's your thoughts on that little Twitter war that went down? You were just catching up on our broadcast now.
We're just focused on Chicago, trying to compete, obviously, with all these guys. I'm glad they're worried about each other. Hopefully we can make this 3 Dow Chevy roll past them at some point, because it's not always the fastest car that wins the race. You got to be smart in these things, and we're going to be as smart as we can and try and make minimal mistakes, and that'll take us to the next round, and then we'll get focused for that round.
And you and I were just talking about the track here. We got cooling temperatures, the sun's setting, and also what line to run. There's a little bit of a discussion about maybe being on the low line, the middle lane. Where do you think you're going to go?
Well, you know, this place is awesome because it wears tires, and as you run, you can kind of move around and find speed. And I think it was probably a good thing that I ran the Xfinity car today, because the rubber just kept going up the track, and that was gave me some ideas about different lines, but probably pretty standard here to start right on the bottom, and then if a lot of people move up, I'll move up with them.
As you guys would expect, Austin Dillon focused on that 3 car and trying to get the most speed out of it, guys.
And I guess, Parker, they should really be mad at Austin and the Chevrolet drivers. Look at these facts. Chevrolet 10 wins on the season. Ford and Toyota just 8. East. Let's go to Parker Kligerman.
Well, guys, I've caught up with Brad Keselowski. And Brad, before we get into the qualifying session after practice, you get on the Twitter and made some tweets. Maybe got some other tweets at you. What exactly went down there, and what's your reaction to all that?
Not much of a reaction because it's time to qualify, but, you know, I've got a okay Miller Lite Ford. We really worked hard on qualifying trim, but the track has changed dramatically with cooling off, and the trucks haven't been just out here for qualifying. And we know we probably don't have the speed we need right now to qualify up front, but we need to have the best day we can, get the best pit selection we can, and try to have track position to score points in the stages. And hopefully, as the playoffs advance, we'll catch up a little bit speed-wise.
And you mentioned the guys you're probably chasing are the Toyotas. Where exactly is their speed advantage, and how big would you say it is?
Well, I mean, they're they got a lot going for them right now, and it's not really fair for me to say where that is. That's really more NASCAR and the team's job, but it is still pretty obvious. You can BS your way through it any way you want, but it's there. And we know that we're going to have to out-execute them, and we need a little bit of luck because, at this point in time, their cars have way more speed.
Well, Kelly, I think you've caught up with one of those Toyota Camp drivers right now.
Yeah, Kyle Busch, who was fastest in that practice that kind of shook things up on Twitter. You had a very strong reaction to Brad's tweet. Why were you so strong in your words?
Well, I mean, we watched those guys be fast in the beginning of the year. We've watched them be fast in years past. Even when the Penske guys were with a different manufacturer, they won a championship. And, we didn't do our complaining on TV. We just did our complaining in the shop on Tuesdays, and we went to work. And so that's where it's all done, and that's what we've done. And I just got to say how proud I am of all of our Toyota TRD teammates and guys and teams, Furniture Row, Joe Gibbs Racing, TRD, and Costa Mesa. It's just the whole package is there, and it takes a lot of hard work and dedication through a lot of great people. And I feel like right now all he's doing is slapping his people across the face.
Thank you, Kyle.
There you have it, Steve. Drivers trying to be, some carefully choosing their words, others saying doubling down.
Well, I like what Kyle had to say, though, there. He didn't want to get into the battle. He's not going to comment to the battle. He feels that the best way to react is to prop up his team, his group, his manufacturer, TRD, the people that support and build the cars that he drives. He feels that he does have superior equipment, is what I heard, but he feels like it's from hard work. But one thing I will give Brad credit for, you never know when a driver makes a comment whether it's something they'll wish they have taken back. And we heard this comment originally months ago, Jeff, but every time Brad Keselowski has the opportunity to retract it or to walk the comment back, he's the opposite. He doubles down. That tells me he really believes it.
Oh, he's fully committed to it, and I think he does believe it. I think he believes that, Toyota, although he said what he has said in the past is that Toyota did a nice job of submitting a new car, did a nice job of, taking advantage of the timing of rules and that kind of things, and he feels like that they're the deficits for that. But NASCAR is not going to change the rules. No. It's not going to happen right now. Ford can submit, resubmit, they can do other things in the future, but nothing's going to happen for the next 10 weeks.
And we said this in first practice. Liar's poker is over. What you think you had all summer doesn't matter. The playoffs are here. Practice was practice. This is the first competition in the playoffs, qualifying here from Chicago.
We're about to see it from here at Chicagoland Speedway. Rules for the qualifying session today, typical for the group qualifying format. Everybody in the pool to start round 1. 20 minutes there. Top 24 move on to round 2. 10 minutes to advance to the final round. 12 will go for the pole this afternoon. Jeff, who do you like?
Well, I got to go with Kyle Busch. I think Kyle Busch has shown speed. But one thing that's very interesting at this racetrack is we like to look back at history and who's done well.
Right.
The last time we qualified here was 2013.
Rain for the last 3 years. That's it, yeah.
And I was informed that I actually was in the race that we qualified in. It's been that long since you qualified. So,
well, that's
black and white. They were doing black and white television.
Yeah, and it's not quite that bad. Back to good weather and Parker Kligerman.
Well, guys, another question for many of these teams as you see them roll down to the stop here at the end of pit lane, maybe wanting to see if this track just continues to cool down as the sun sets here, is that a lot of these teams watch the 18 of Kyle Busch use the higher lane in his mock runs in practice and got a lot of speed out of that. And so there's many of these teams, as I talk to them, wondering, do I go to that higher lane? Maybe I stake at the bottom for this first session, then try it sometime later. It's a lot of discussion going on here about what lane exactly they should choose on this wore-out racetrack. Jeff?
Parker, I think that decision is made more difficult by the cooling conditions. The hotter and slicker it is, the more you want to run the top. But as the track cools down, you tend to want to run the shorter way around the racetrack. And looking at the shade of the racetrack right now, turn 4 looks fairly shaded. So I think that decision is going to be more complicated.
Ray Black Jr. in his Monster Energy Cup Series debut this weekend told me this afternoon there would be this race and the Texas Motor Speedway for his Cup Series runs with Rick Ware Racing this year. Otherwise, focusing on the Xfinity Series as he has for the last few years.
Well, Ray Black Jr. we like to look at cars to see how the track's going to change. Well, Ray Black was 40th in practice at a 32.59. He just ran a 31.72. So a combination of him getting some seat time, but also the track cooling and getting a little bit quicker. You could see some very fast speeds in qualifying.
Shade on the Chicagoland Speedway. 18 minutes left in round 1. 40 cars to take time this afternoon. They'll all be in the show. The question is, what order will they be in, and who will be on the pole for the first race of the 2017 playoffs? That's a big deal. It says a lot about your team, Steve, and it says kind of where you're headed and what you got for the mile-and-a-half tracks going forward.
Well, 5 of the 10 playoff tracks are at the mile-and-a-half, and it starts here in Chicago, and you'd want to get off to the right, in the right direction. Even some of these teams that have a little bit of an advantage with the playoff points they're earned, you want to come here and still run well. But, we go back to those comments that were made on Twitter at the beginning of this show and how the playoffs are amping things up. Well, I think what makes that even more focused is that this isn't the first time that we've seen Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski have issues. And a matter of fact, I'm going to need some help with all of these replays because this is a lengthy history starting all the way back in 2010 at Bristol.
Xfinity Series action. Brad in the wall. Kyle with the advantage that day. Then 2012 at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, this was a great race. The oil on the racetrack. Then Kansas, 2013. Brad Keselowski going around. Hey, you should go to the back.
And now, that's the thing. They're in Cup and Xfinity together, and this is a mixture of those highlights. Again, back in the Xfinity cars. Once again at Bristol, I think we're starting to see some trends. And then just this year at Michigan, right at the beginning of the race, the 2 tangle and the 18 go spinning.
But these are 2 guys that it continues on at Watkins Glen this year.
Long
side by side.
I've always said that about you drivers. You don't forget stuff ever.
Well, it's 2 guys with long memories and 2 guys with fierce competitive spirit. And neither one of them wants to lose. And they're going to bring everything they have every single race. And we've seen Brad Keselowski. He has been in the middle of stuff. He doesn't mind getting in the middle of it. We've seen Kyle Busch. He doesn't mind getting in the middle of it. And by the way, that's what we expect of race car drivers. We expect them to be competitive. We don't expect them to give an inch, and these 2 do that.
And the same for fans. Kyle Busch gets cheered and he gets booed, and Brad Keselowski does the same, and I think the line is pretty well in the sand. You don't find a lot of fans that will cheer for both of them boo both of them, but that is what this sport is built on. You have to have a favorite. No matter what sport it is, who is your favorite? And if that's your favorite, then who don't you enjoy? Who do you want to see run poorly? I mean, that is what NASCAR is all about, and I think it's only amplified in these playoffs.
Let's go back to 2014 with Brad Keselowski. Not afraid to get things started in the playoffs. This was at Charlotte. Little blockage to the outside there. Little hello at the end of the race. And then this coming on to pit road.
And then Denny Hamlin, he had some words. He was mad, and not as mad as Matt Kenseth, though.
Matt Kenseth was coming off the turnbuckle and going in between trucks there trying to find him.
In Texas, put his car in a small hole. Harvick's like, hey, get in there and fight your own battle. And then this ruckus ensued. Watch all the fists coming from all different directions.
It was on, and many Twitter avatars were made after that from that incident. I don't know how many people put that in there and said, I was there the day that they all came through.
But, Steve made a comment about Brad. He hasn't backed down on these comments. These comments he's made about Toyota, they're not new today. Well, after those incidences, he didn't back down from those either. He was very clear. I did nothing wrong. I'm here to win races. I'm not here to make friends. And that's really how he races. I don't think Brad Keselowski's a dirty race car driver by any means. I think he's an aggressive race car driver, and he's going to stand his ground. And by the way, so is Kyle Busch.
Clock continues to roll. Parker, why are teams waiting right now?
Well, it comes down to our old friend temperature, of course, and that is because you see that shadow that's kind of come across Stream 4, and what's happening is you have that sun, our friend the sun, who's going to slowly fall behind that big grandstand on the front stretch and then continue to cover this track in shade, which means it's going to cool down and it's going to gain grip. So all these teams are waiting as far as they can. I just spoke to the 19 team of Daniel Suarez, and they told me maybe the cutoff time for them to go would be about 10 minutes left of the session because they want to be able to make sure that they have enough time to cool the car back down and do a second run if they need to do that. So basically, a lot of these teams just giving themselves as much time as possible, and then they're going to go after it when they feel like it's coldest.
Thanks for that. The only car to take time so far, Ray Black Jr. put down 2 laps, and as Jeff noted, greatly reduced his time on track from his practice time earlier today, but it is his first Cup Series start.
But I do think it's going to take a much faster lap. Jeff and I actually have this argument about every week, right? So a 29.30 was fast in practice. I think that fast in this round one is going to be down around 28.75, 28.72. Jeff, you thought about what? A 28.90? 90. So, you know, we're talking, you know, 4, 5, 6 tenths of a second faster.
Timmy Hill easily eclipsing the time of Ray Black Jr.
And after watching these guys go, I'm afraid that
oh, wait, everybody listen.
Is probably going to be more right than I was in this case.
Dave, in case you missed that was Jeff thinking I'm going to be right.
This isn't the Price is Right rules where you can't go over. It's just the closest.
Gotcha.
Just to be clear, you have to always specify if it's Price is Right rules or not. This is just closest.
So what's the number?
Well, I want to know. I say 28.72
right,
to be exact. But here's my question. As a crew chief, I know what I'm thinking. All right, we're going to run quicker, so I'm going to add a little bit more packer to the bump stops. I'm going to make sure the splitter doesn't hit the racetrack. But as a race car driver, Jeff, I'm always fascinated by, hey, go on out there. You've been here all day, but I need 6 tenths of a second faster.
That's the problem.
So what's your approach?
Well, first of all, I don't want to be the first one. I don't want to be the guy. Like, if I'm Kevin Harvick right now, I consider myself to be a top 10 team.
Yep.
I don't want to base my time off of Ray Black Jr., some of the the teams that don't run in their front. I want to base a time off of somebody that I'm going to have to compete for the win. So I want to wait. I want to get an understanding. What do I need to pick up? Because what we see happen so many times is that somebody will go try to pick up 7 tenths of a second, and the track doesn't have it in it. And they run much slower than they should run because they try too hard. So you really would like to not be the first guy.
So Harvick was fifth quick in practice, and Denny Hamlin 3rd quick, so this will be a good judge right here.
Denny Hamlin, he decided when we hear 10 minutes was the cutoff line. Well, for this car, apparently 11.5. And think about this, though. 3rd in practice, Jeff. So they must be thinking they have more than enough speed to make it into the round of 24. So go ahead, get qualified, get your first round over with, and you can cool the tires a little bit more.
I like that strategy.
Shade creeping over most of the Chicagoland Speedway. I'd say about 50% of it.
That was a nice 1 and 2 right to the bottom of the racetrack. I mean, look, he's almost a second faster than Hill currently. This is the tougher end of the racetrack, in my opinion, with the bumps. He gets all the way to the white line. See if the bumps disrupt him. Man, that thing tracked through there really nice, Jeff.
It looked really good. So let's see. 29.45. I would have thought quicker than that. I feel a little better about my, number now that I saw that.
The paint scheme on the 11 there does a great job of highlighting the Monster Energy green on all the playoff cars. See it on the front splitter there, across the top of the windshield. The spoiler is emblazoned there as well. So that'll give you a good chance to know who is who and who is in the playoffs. Parker?
Well, guys, as we saw Denny Hamlin lay down that lap time, it was really crucial for a lot of these teams to see as we see Kevin Harvick pulling off pit lane and starting his lap, because they wanted to know how much faster the track was. I know, Steve, you were just talking about estimating how much faster you thought it was. Well, a lot of teams are talking about that, and when they saw the 11 go out, they said, now we'll know, and they know, and now they're going out.
What you don't know, because the teams don't talk. The drivers have been trained not to speak. What you don't know is what kind of lap did he have. So Denny Hamlin, his team won't let him talk. They don't want him to talk on the radio and say, hey, I was way loose, I was way tight, because that's giving other teams information about the racetrack that you just don't want to give. So you see Kevin Harvick right now looks like to be about 2 tenths, 2.5, maybe 3 tenths quicker. Steve Letarte got happy when he saw that.
Hey, Jeff, actually, Denny Hamlin did talk over the radio. One of the things that he mentioned, he said visibility was a little bit of an issue. He said he definitely had some left on that run, said he was driving a little bit conservative, didn't give away too much as for specifics of handling them.
There you go. Thank you, Kelly.
Well, this is a type of track where, the tires are going to lose grip. So is there any way that you could perhaps not give 100% that first round? That seems very difficult, not knowing where the cut line might be established, but maybe one of these faster cars from practice feels that they can.
Just over 8.5 minutes left in round 1. You don't have to be first, but you want to be one of the fastest 24.
And Dave, this racetrack is very hard on tires. It's an abrasive racetrack. We've seen that, when you can put on tires, you want to do that. So going faster each round will be very difficult.
Practice earlier today, we heard Ricky Stenhouse Jr. talking about the front tires cheese grating across this track. It may not be Darlington worn out, but is it approaching that?
Well, I think it is Darlington wore out.
In a different way.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Darlington has its own signature. But as far as old surface, this one was put down in 2001. And I think when you go out and you walk on the racetrack and you look down, it looks like an old country road that's been asphalt for years. It's not quite gravel, but it's not that new, fresh pavement of the interstate. You see a lot of bigger pieces in it and a lot of spots missing. It's really chews up the tires. And I think that it truly has as much tire fall off as an Atlanta, as an old style Texas, or even perhaps a Darlington.
And how about Matt Kenseth, top of the board, Larson to second, but Jimmy Johnson, we keep thinking, all right, now at the playoffs, Jimmy Johnson and his team, they're going to step it up, but currently 10th fastest, about a half a second off a fast time.
I was going to ask, where do you think that'll land on the top 24? Is he going to have to go out again?
Right now, I have a little bit of concern for Martin Truex Jr. as well, just in front of him.
Kurt Busch to the line, 10th. Casey Kahne, was that a little back-end wiggle there off of turn 2? It's curved down the backstretch there. Maybe a little bit deceptive.
There's a lot of racetrack.
A little bit of smoke out of that left rear tire. That's nothing new.
His crew chief, Keith Rodden, one of the newcomers to the playoffs. Jeremy Bullins on the 21 car, the other. Steve, how much is that going to matter as we get deeper into the playoffs?
Well, I think it matters just because how do you lead the team? What type of messaging do you give your driver? Messaging do you give your pit crew? I think every time you enter the playoffs, whether you're successful or even more importantly, if you're not successful, you learn from that lack of success. You learn either the decision that hurt you or the approach that hurt you. I mean, I know that 2007 was the closest chance I had to win a championship, and if I could go back and do it again 5 or 8 years later, I would have been much more successful with that knowledge. So I do think that having a little less experience on top of the pit box has a chance to come into play, definitely later into the rounds of playoffs.
Suarez was quick in practice, 9th currently in round 1. Here's Clint Boyer.
And Suarez obviously not to chase in the playoffs. Boyer not in the playoffs. So what do they have to gain? They're not going to gain way up in points. What they have to gain is they have an opportunity to get better. They have an opportunity to advance their teams, Boyer to 9th, and that's really what their focus is. They need to go try to get themselves in position to win races to build on next year.
Well, the first misstep of the playoffs, perhaps right there, was the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Went out, took the green flag, went down into turn 1, and up the racetrack he went. So you see right here, he's committed. He turns down in the corner. The car does not handle as he wants. 2, 3 big wiggles up the racetrack he goes. And the reason I say it's a misstep, we've talked about tire life. Well, he had to shut it down and come in. He's already behind. I know it doesn't sound like a whole lot as Kyle Busch sets the fastest time of the session, but now Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has to put a lot of stress with 5 minutes left just to make it out of the first round. And Jeff, I would have had too much front packer in my car because the speeds just aren't that fast. I thought they'd be 28 70s and 80s. They're not there. So if a crew chief predicts that, you can over adjust. I perhaps would be hurting my driver right now. I'd have been too conservative. Now, maybe not tenths of a second, but hundredths for sure.
But some of that's because you haven't qualified here in forever. We just talked about it. 2013 was the last time you qualified here. So this track has sat here and aged and got lost grip. It's hard to know what to expect from the racetrack between practice and qualifying. And I know people say, well, how much can it change? But there's places we go, the track will pick up almost a second. There's places we'll go, it actually runs slower in qualifying. You don't know, and not having that history makes it a much more difficult decision.
And Steve, too much packer in the front end of the car does what to the handling?
Well, it's going to be too high. So basically, to go through the corner, you put a tremendous amount of load. So if you're going to go through there faster, you got to prepare for that and kind of put some setup items in there, some packer to make sure the splitter doesn't hit the ground. The problem is at these speeds, it would be too high off the ground.
Matt DiBenedetto in the 32, heading onto the track now in his driver's uniform. Earlier today was seen in a Ninja Turtle outfit. Not afraid to sport the theme for the weekend, no matter what it is.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, he had his hands full driving into turn 3. That car was moving around.
He needed some superhero qualities right there, didn't he?
I would have been crawling in my turtle shell, I can tell you that. That looks scary to me.
This guy's been super over his career. Kelly? See Ricky Stenhouse Jr. now getting the car cooled back down quickly. A couple of technical issues with Kelly's microphone down there. Sorry about that. Back to another super guy.
Well,
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Sorry, excuse me. We're now comparing a 24th. That's important because you see Earnhardt Jr. trending in the green. Well, that's just to advance, so he jumps up in the 19th position.
Will that be safe? Several cars have not taken time yet, and one of those will be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. going back out.
I think Earnhardt Jr. is looking reasonably safe. I'm a little more concerned about Dillon, Menard. I see Stenhouse. There's Almirola. I think we had him going a little bit faster. Danica Patrick as well. Allmendinger. I mean, Earnhardt Jr. is going to be close. I think it's going to be 23rd, 24th if these other cars can improve, as we see Danica Patrick on a really nice lap.
Yeah, Danica was 8th fastest in practice, so she's had a nice weekend. You can see right here, she's easily going to get in the top 24. Up to 12th.
Competitive in her 6th year with Stewart Haas Racing and final year with them, she announced this week. Here's some radio from Ricky Stenhouse.
Rear's loose. Front's still not turning, but it's deadly loose.
And I guess we saw that, didn't we, Steve?
Yeah, what he's saying is, listen, I don't want you to think the balance is just loose. The front tires aren't working. The car isn't turning like I want, but basically as I go in there and the front tires don't work and I start to put some wheel to it, the back wants to just spin out as well. So it's not always as clear or as simple as one handling issue. As Landon Cassill, nice lap for Landon. He'll move Dillon out of the top 24.
And look, I know it's qualifying the first day of the playoffs. First, right? But this is concern for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and his team. This has been their weak point. Mile and a halves have been where they have not been near quick enough. And then on the first day of the playoffs, you go in your first lap of qualifying, you can't even make it. So, you know, you've got to back it off. So we'll see what kind of changes they make, if they have enough changes in their car to be able to move themselves into the top 24.
Well, and if I'm one of the other playoff cars, I'm perhaps rooting against the 17 a little bit, just because his restrictor play program has without a doubt been the best. He's won 2 of the 3 races, and with Talladega looming, he's the type of driver and a team that if I'm racing against him, I would love to see him eliminated in the round of 16. I don't want to go to Talladega and have to battle him for a spot.
Talladega, that round 2 track that Ricky would so much like to get to. On track now and trending in the green against Cassill.
Going up the racetrack in a hurry.
Saw that, yep. And back in the red, man.
With a minute left, this is it. This is his shot. He has to find something in 3 and 4. So he drives in, seems to be maybe a little more conservative. Back the corner entry up. Jeff, this is a nice job of driving. He's going to be able to carry the speed off the corner and move them into the next round.
22nd.
How about that?
Casey Kahne's on the bubble right now. You see Dillon, he has a pretty solid lap going on. This could move Casey out.
30 seconds to go. Kahne is moved. Dillon is up. Buescher's on the bubble.
Yeah, Casey Kahne is on the racetrack currently. He's out there. That green chip next to his name on the screen basically moves he's on the racetrack. So here he is coming to get the green flag. As long as he takes the green before time eliminates, that means that he can finish his lap.
He's done that. Menard on track, Bain on track. Buescher still on the bubble. And, tracking in the green, but wiggles through turn 2.
That was a big wiggle. He tried to commit, and the car just didn't do what he needed. But he's only 8/100ths. He can make it up at the end of the racetrack, Jeff.
You'll have to have a perfect end to this racetrack, though, because his tires are hotter. Remember, this is his 2nd time on the racetrack, so he's going to have to be perfect over here. It's going to be very hard to do. It doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Trevor Bain was not able to do it. Michael McDowell couldn't do it. Here comes Kahne. Doesn't get it.
And that right there, that's the first loss in the playoffs. You look at the top 24. Every playoff team has advanced except for Casey Kahne. So while it may only be 2 or 3 positions on the grid, it's more than just that. It's momentum. It's excitement. It's, you know, how competitive do you feel your car can be? Well, right here, the 5 car has fallen short in the first opportunity to keep up.
And this isn't what this team needs. I mean, Casey Kahne, it's already been announced he's not coming back to this team. So Casey Kahne has doubts about his future. What's he going to be doing? Needs a solid playoff. Things need to be going well. Day 1, they haven't.
And the round 1 recovery goes to that man, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Out of the top 24, came back, put the car in. He'll move on to round 2. On NBCSN. And yes, I admit I couldn't do that without smiling this time because I read it right again. What are the chances?
Better you than me.
I know. 25 through 40 after round 1. Casey Kahne, as we noted, the only one of the playoff drivers to miss. Anything else about that first round, looking at the guys that didn't make it that surprised you all?
Well, I don't think any real surprises. I know Paul Menard and his team continue to be disappointed, just hadn't had the year they wanted.
And you see Brett Moffitt did not make a lap in the 83 car. Now let's get on to Parker.
Right, guys, I'm with Kasey Kahne, who did get knocked out in the first round. And Kasey, what were you missing? You made a second run there. What was the car missing to be able to challenge and get in the second round?
Yeah, we were missing rear grip. We didn't have any. So we're just, we got to start 25th on Sunday, and we were terrible in practice. We're terrible in qualifying. Tomorrow's a new day. We'll do everything we can to be much better. But yeah, today was awful.
Well, on the bright side, you do have a great paint scheme on that car designed by 9-year-old Wyatt Zender, who's battling with cancer. You helped pick that paint scheme. The fans voted for it. Just tell us about that paint scheme.
Yeah, Wyatt, who actually drew the car, painted it. He'll be here Sunday for the race, so that's really cool from Seattle Children's. And Great Clips has been a great partner for years doing these types of things to, give these kids opportunities and things. So the bunch of kids painted out cars for us, and that was the one we chose. And Wyatt and his family are coming, so it should be a great Sunday.
Should be, definitely. Hopefully get a good run for Kasey Kahne and Wyatt, guys, on Sunday.
And Parker, that scheme is so cool. It's actually a race wrap on there, but they captured every stroke of the crayon that Wyatt did for this winning paint scheme on Kasey's car. Qualifying round 2 when we come back to Chicagoland. Welcome back to NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series qualifying presented by Ford Performance. Sun setting at the Chicagoland Speedway, and that has not gone unnoticed by the 88 team.
Hey, TJ, how much sun is still in turn 3?
Maybe 60%.
We're just debating on whether to change the shield on the helmet.
I mean, I might leave it on there for one more run, Travis.
Driver, what do you think?
It's just a question whether or not you need that darker shield. You really don't want to run a dark shield unless you have to, because you can just see a little bit more clearly with a clear shield, but with that sun in your eyes, you almost have to run it.
So many corners with the sun going down can be blinding, and when you're trying to lay down a blindingly fast lap, Jeff, where does this one rank?
This one isn't really bad. It's just where the sun is in your eyes. You enter turn 3, you're pretty good, but then as you roll through the middle of the corner, that's when it gets you. It's almost like a flash more than anything else. Parker.
Well, guys, as we see the 41 of Kurt Busch go out there, the first car out in this round, I expect a lot of cars not to be far behind him, because they were just talking about how upset they were with the traffic down end of pit lane in that last round and how it was tough to get out there. And so they're thinking they just want to go early in this round and get that lap over with.
You see the clock has started in the upper right. 10 minutes for this round. 1 minute already gone.
So this team really interests me. Kurt Busch and his team. The last month, things have gone well. Much better. Prior to that, I know they won the Daytona 500. Great start to the year, but then it slowed down. But the last month, this team has looked much better. Can they carry it into the playoffs? That's the question, but certainly reason for optimism.
Kurt, the 2004 Series champion. And his last couple of weeks have been outstanding. Had the 7th place finish at Darlington and 3rd last week at Richmond. Keselowski left, Kenseth right. Matt puts it to the top of the board.
So Kurt Busch went a little faster in round 2 than he went in round 1. Matt Kenseth went much slower than he went. So it seemed like he didn't quite have as much.
P1 of 3.
Brad Keselowski also went faster than he went in round 1. So it seems like that's the trend you're going to want to stick with, is a speed improvement from the first lap to the second, which is impressive on these tires, Jeff, that these cars can go out there and go any faster.
Yeah, it is impressive. That's very difficult to do. At Darlington a few weeks ago, that was what everybody's goal was, run the same speed all 3 rounds. Most people could not do that. Most people have difficulty doing it here.
Well, we've heard a lot of talking on Twitter and interviews and all that, but if you let your performance do the talking, I think Martin Truex Jr. in this 78 car, Jeff, has got to be the hands-down favorite championship title contender. And I don't know if you can give them an advantage in Miami, but I think their work in the regular season has to be an advantage to make Miami. I mean, you look at the work they've done. You know, they won Chicago back in 2016, so this track, I think, is good for them, but just so much success all year long, winning so many stages and so many races.
About a groove up in 1 and 2, not right down on the white line.
No, but you can see the speed looks good. Down to the very bottom of the racetrack in 3 and 4. That's just because of grip levels. The grip level's a little better in 3 and 4 than it is in 1 and 2. Truex with a good lap.
to the top with a 29.09. What was the speed you said would be fastest in round 2? Did we decide that yet?
I was thinking in 90, so that's about 2/10 off from where I thought would be the fastest, but
we're not done yet.
No, but Mark Truex, that's a good lap. I think that lap will get them through. Joey Logano up there in second, trying to spoil the party with all these playoff cars.
Ryan Newman 6th.
24, we'll move on to 12 from here. Denny Hamlin has been quick all weekend in his Toyota. Tracking red now down the back straightaway and going the wrong direction against Truex's time. See if he does what Stenhouse did in round 1. Backed it off, reapplied, and it's not going to, but still be a good lap.
Why do I think these two names are going to be connected all of the playoffs? Martin Truex Jr. in P1, and look who's trending close to him, Kyle Larson. Oh, and the 77 has spun out.
There you won't hit the ground.
No caution, though.
Eric Jones around off
the caution. The reason I made the mention about caution is because for the cars that were on the racetrack, that is a major disadvantage. Kyle Larson was on the racetrack. That's a disadvantage because now that's laps on their tires that other teams aren't going to have. That's just bad luck. That's all it is. NASCAR had no choice but to throw the caution out. But for those teams that were on laps, that could come back to haunt them. It's only 5 minutes and 50 seconds left. So when that clock starts, they're going to come in here. They're going to be trying to get the tires cooled off, the engine cooled off. But that's going to hurt them. Qualifying takes full commitment. Eric Jones in the throttle trying to make lap time, and car just came around on him.
Needed a win last week to make it into the playoffs. That didn't come for Jones. And this spin is not a good run for him in qualifying yet, Kelly.
Well, and I caught just the tail end of Eric's communication with his team where he said there was just nothing there to lean on. Now, in practice earlier today, he also had a moment. He came over the radio, said he was scared to death that he was going to wreck. So they didn't have quite the handling in practice, and obviously something wasn't quite right there for Eric just then.
And now, Dave, because those tires are flat, they'll have to put a new set of tires on, and under that penalty, it doesn't matter where this 77 is on speed. While they'll get credit for making the second round, they'll probably pick Pitts in what I assume would be the 24th position. He'll have to start at the tail of the field because they'll have to put new tires on.
See him describing to crew chief Chris Gale there exactly what happened.
You saw his hands. You saw his hands. It's like what he's saying was, and then it just went away. There's nothing I could do. That's how quick that hand motion was, just saying that it just immediately went around, and I just couldn't catch it. And the two cars that were on the racetrack, Jamie McMurray and Kyle Larson, those are the two that were on the racetrack making lap time that are going to come down, cool them off, hopefully get their tires cooled off. But that's going to hurt them.
Let's explain the rule. So the rule is this. If at any point the caution comes out, your lap is aborted. It doesn't matter if you're a few feet from the start-finish line. They stop scoring you. So, even if you're finishing your lap, it makes no difference. So the 42, you'll see him right here coming out of turn 4, and the 77 has spun in front of him. This is the smoke he's going through. Well, as soon as NASCAR hits the button and puts the yellow out, this lap no longer matters. So that's 2 extra laps on those tires.
Denny Hamlin had crossed the line just before them and got lucky. Kelly?
Yeah, the opposite, of course, for Kyle Larson. I just checked with the team who said, now that's unlucky. They still feel like they can get in the top 12, but obviously if that's put another run on, that's going to hurt their shot at the pole.
One advantage they do have, though, is that you pointed out the time, but under red, unlike in the race where you cannot do anything, under red in qualifying, they can continue to work on that 42. So they were cooling the engine, letting the tires cool. So there's still, hopefully be enough time to make that lap.
So he had a nearly full lap report then to give his crew chief.
He did, but unfortunately, I would rather have no information and fresher tires.
I get
glass half full day.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Dave, where were you? I could have used you for years.
I've been right here watching you. I know what Burton was doing in 2001. I was here for the first race. Where were you at that point in your career?
I was here. I've been for every race. 2001.
Yep.
Are you the one that cut the tethers on the orange that bounced down the ring?
No, that wasn't you. No, but I was the crew chief on the car when Jeff Gordon spun Matt Kenseth for the win. I think that was 2006. So
Yep.
A lot of
and that was one of those where he didn't wait. He didn't wait. As soon as he got there, he went around.
This is the 17th time that the series races here. By the way, that's on September 17th on Sunday. I don't know if we need special glasses for that or something like that, like we did for the Eclipse. But and for the past few years, it has been the opener for the playoffs.
How about Austin Dillon?
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Fastest time of the session. I think that's what this 3-car needs, Parker. The 3-car needs to continue to overachieve, prove that they are a playoff contender.
That he does. That's what they're doing right there. We've seen the progression out of RCR throughout the last couple of months, but one guy who's not going to improve this session is Eric Jones. He spun off turn 4 there. What exactly happened?
Well, I've been working on that all day. The first round of practice, we were really loose and just never really worked it out of it. So I was hoping that we were going to be a little bit more secure there and thought it was okay, and it just snapped around. No real indication. So it's unfortunate. Obviously, we're going to have to start at the back. So it'll be a longer day for us in the 5-hour energy Camry, but we'll just have to see what we got in race trim tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be better off there and be able to work our way back to the front.
Snappy loose is the culprit, guys.
Yeah, and Parker backing up what Kelly told us about his earlier practice, which was a little bit sketchy.
And we saw Danica Patrick's lap. She had a handful. She drove into turn 1 and back in came around. She had to chase up the racetrack. Not the lap they were looking for. Kyle Busch.
Boom.
Although.
Good job there, P1.
He moves his brother out of the top 12. That puts Kurt Busch below the cut line.
And I'm going to tell you, Dave, we talked about that little break and how it disadvantaged McMurray and Larson, but it advantaged these people that hadn't gone. The guys that hadn't gone, think about it. Now, it's only 3, 4, 5 minutes.
Right.
But the track's cooling down. Do you think it's a coincidence that Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, that those guys were, the track temp has without a doubt come down some, and that's a little bit of an advantage.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about hundreds. I mean, fastest is 07, second in 08, third in 09. 200ths of a second. It doesn't take a lot.
Ty Dillon announcing recently he is back for more with this team in the future. Good to see. Good confidence for that young man. Didn't make the playoffs this year, but there is always next year.
So this basically paints the picture. I love this. This is basically, when you look on the left side of your screen, the advantage. Well, now you know where everyone is relative to the cut line. So you look at the 31, he's about 6/100ths faster. Minus being faster, he has a faster lap time. Below being a slower, but you look up here, 0.297, 285. I mean, fractions of a second. Grab a stopwatch and try to show me a few hundreds. Good luck.
Ty Dillon is not going to bump his way in. It will be 17th for the 13 car.
Oh.
Stenhouse is right on it.
Well, that little shortcut through the tri-oval.
12. Move Newman out.
Yeah, and Steve, what's the theory jumping down there to the apron?
The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So why run the biggest arc on the front stretch when you can connect the two with a straight line? It definitely isn't the best for your car. It's a little hard on the side skirts and hurts your approach to turn 1. But you're only being scored to the middle of the start-finish line as the 1 car. That was a pretty big slide right there, Jeff.
Yes, it was.
But that scoring line runs all the way across, right, Steve? So pretty much unless you're in the grass, you're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, and if you're in the grass, it's going to be exciting.
It's going to slow your time tremendously. McMurray pulls it together. He is not going to be better than the time of Stenhouse.
How about up there in 4th and 5th, though? Joey Logano, Clint Boyer, trying to upset the party, upset the playoff party. It's really amazing. 130 races since 2004 have been run inside the playoffs for NASCAR. 18 of them, Jeff, have been won by not playoff cars. So think about that. To try to win and upset this apple cart is a very tall task.
Ryan Newman back out for his second run.
Blaney's number's looking good right now. The 21 on your left. In the green and going the right way.
He looks very safe.
He almost found the grass down there.
6, and that moved Kenseth to the bubble.
Well, how about Larson? He's a 10th ahead through 3 and 4.
Wow.
Think about this. Remember, he has a whole extra lap on his tires and is still going to have enough speed.
Tell you a little something about that program. Larson to 11th. Will it hold? Johnson yet to run. Here he comes. He is not going to work his way. He's going to be right below the cut line in 13th. Kurt's going to give it another shot in the 41. Remember, he was first out, so he's had a little time to cool and tune.
See Matt Kenseth, he's trending to the good side, going backwards down the back straightaway.
Kurt cannot capitalize. Here comes Kenseth.
That's a really good center, 3 and 4.
Time has expired. This lap is going to count. Nearly on fire coming across the line there. And he's going to put himself in, and Suarez is bumped.
That is so hard to do. The second time out on tires to make 3 and 4, to execute 3 and 4 with hot tires, second time out. That is so difficult. Normally we see everybody lose time in that end of the racetrack because it's that much heat on the tires, and Matt Kenseth able to squeak in.
Earlier today in practice, Kyle Busch, the fastest car. Round 2, fastest, Kyle Busch. Can he win the pole at Chicagoland for the first race of the playoffs? NBC. Round 2 is complete. These drivers did not make it in. Suarez just missed. A few playoff drivers in there as well.
Got quite a few playoff drivers. See Jamie Murray, we talked about his bad luck. But Kurt Busch, Ryan Newman, Stenhouse, Johnson.
And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. all day seems to have not been in agreement with turns 1 and 2, Steve.
No, well, we've talked about 3 and 4 in the bumps, but the 17's been 1 and 2. You see him way up the racetrack, and really it looked the same. This is the round 1 of qualifying. He goes in, tries to commit to the bottom, but you can see just very little grip in that race car, and he chases it up all the way to the wall. Parker?
Well, Ricky and I are both watching those images right there, and when race cars do the same thing twice in different sessions, that's never good. What do you need to fix in that thing?
Yeah, I was having to wheel it a lot right there, especially the first run that we aborted. But, we've been fighting, just trying to get the balance. I was really tight in practice. We kept trying to loosen it up, but it didn't really help me turn very much. So we made a big swing for it in qualifying, got it way on the other side of being really loose, and that's what you saw the first run, just hitting the seams and getting loose, run me up the racetrack. But the guys made a really good adjustment to our fast and all forward and was able to transfer that next run out, and we only missed it by 0.08 to that third round. So really good adjustments there that put us starting a lot further ahead than what we were going to, I thought. So looking at your stats, we beat 4 other playoff guys, and really that's what we got to do every week, every race, every session. So if we can continue to do that, that'll be a game for us.
Good recovery, Kelly.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson just missing out as well. He'll start this one 14th. Jimmy, considering where you have been starting the last few weeks, I guess 14th isn't so bad.
No, it's not. Of course, we want to be better. But a step in the right direction. I mean, starting in the 7th row is a lot better than, as you point out, where we've started here recently. We can move forward like we typically do in the race and get up in the top 10, top 5. It can completely change the outcome of the race and get momentum going the right way for us. So we're digging deep. I think we've improved some, and it's playoff time, and the weather's cooling down, and fall is here, so it's time for this 48 to get hot.
Yeah, exactly. He's led almost 700 laps here, still has yet to win at Chicagoland.
And Kelly, one of the bigger stories in the playoffs this year, Jimmy Johnson going for 8. It's been done by 2 drivers, the King, Richard Petty, and, of course, the late Dale Earnhardt Sr. Can Jimmy Johnson win number 8 in 2017? We'll know in Miami. So glad you could join us for this afternoon's Monster Energy Cup Series qualifying here from the Chicagoland Speedway. The track is green for the final round. 12 cars to run for the pole in the opening event of the 2017 playoffs. Could be interesting. Did you guys write down a time that you think it'll take to be the pole sitter here?
I'm so far off, I'm going to quit guessing.
Oh, have you lost each round?
I have, but
Burton,
I will
won
say
each round?
that the shade is here, though, so I think these cars are going to have to go a little bit quicker than they did in the final round, or in the last round. Excuse
It's
me.
fair to say yes.
That you are the winner so far. All right. Burton 2, Letarte 0. I am abstaining.
So what's difficult, though, as we're sitting there debating about how fast, so are the teams. So you see all the shade.
Right.
So we know the track's cooler. We know the track's faster, but the tires are not. The tires are hotter. The tires are colder. The tires are slower, rather. So, what's going to weigh out? Is the deficit in tires or the advantage in racetrack? What's going to make the bigger difference?
And what is the driver looking for as he rockets down at 180 miles an hour into the turn in terms of feel? How much tire do I have?
Well, the foundation of your qualifying was the first qualifying run that you made, and now you're building off of that. So you know your lift points. You know where you need to be. You know you told the team what the car needed to be better, where it needed to be better. You're hoping they made the right decisions. You're hoping you don't overdrive the car or underdrive the car.
There's the standard.
All right, well, that's the baseline.
Or the baseline. I'll buy that.
You could be a spotter, Dave.
Yeah, no.
And they have no idea if that's good or not. They just don't, right? I mean, Brad has an idea based on the way his car felt, but the team really doesn't know if that's going to be good enough or not. I think after this car runs, you'll have a much better idea. Kyle Busch has been fast in practice, been fast in qualifying so far.
Well, they started qualifying with a exchange of words on Twitter, and now they're going to end qualifying to see who can best who for the best starting position and the best pit stall on pit road. I like this right here, though, this big high line coming to the green. He should carry a bunch of speed to the green. Instantly, we'll be able to compare him to Keselowski to see who got to the green better. Will Kyle Busch be into the green, getting into turn 1? He is. That tells me that was all coming to the green in 3 and 4.
See the clock on the lower right going way in the right direction, in the green and climbing.
Smoke off that left rear tire right in the middle of the corner.
This lap is going to be fast.
And that car does not move through the line on the track. Looking good. Kyle Busch to the top of the board in a big way.
Wow. There's your answer. Racetrack or tires. Cooler racetrack prevails.
Austin Dillon, where will the 3 car be when it's all said and done, once 12 have gone? Harvick to the line.
I mean, guys, that's 0.4 of a second from first to second.
Yes.
I mean, that is a mile. That is, if you're a horse racer, that's 20 lengths. That's not even close to the competition we normally see. The 18 of Kyle Busch has made an unbelievable statement here at Chicago so far. Can anyone get close to him? Can his teammate get close to him?
I don't think there's any way. I just don't see anybody being able to run that fast. I didn't see him running that fast.
Chase Elliott, no answer. Hamlin to the line, 2/10 off, plus almost 3.
Don't tell Martin Truex Jr., although now he's starting to lose time, 0.2 of a second. So even Truex Jr. just can't keep the pace with Kyle Busch.
Staying in the red, Larson on track, only a 10th right now. Logano with a good run. Keep an eye on him. Boyer in the green momentarily. Will it stay? All trying to catch Kyle Busch, who has laid down a lap of 28.72. No one else under 29 seconds.
I can't remember this much of a gap from first to second in any recent memory. That is a major lap put down by Kyle Busch.
Logano to the line, not good enough. Clint Boyer, he'll start in the top 12. It'll be 10th right here with Blaney and Kenseth yet to go.
Yeah, Blaney's quit. He's coasting in, so his qualifying efforts are done.
Kenseth is driving a Toyota, teammate to the provisional pole sitter. Right now, that's Kyle Busch.
Let's see how far Kenseth off. He's already 4/10 off going into turn 3. Remember, he has an extra run on his tires. He had to run 2 times in the second round to advance.
It is not going to be enough. Final round over. Mic drop. Kyle Busch, huge lap at Chicagoland.
I mean, almost 0.3 of a second. First round of the playoffs. Everyone has bought their best stuff. I mean, I think this is more than just a pole parker. This is just a dominant performance, as Dave said. A major statement out of the 18 in Kyle Busch.
Absolutely incredible, Steve, as he's getting high fives to his teams. We'll pound there. Kyle, 0.3 over second place. Where do you find all that speed? That is absolutely incredible.
It's because I'm in a Toyota. That's why, right? Just great adjustments right there. We were kind of a little bit free there those first couple runs and just trying to get the balance right, and feels like the last run, obviously, the balance was way better and really able to attack and get the most out of it. That's all she had, So certainly just a great job by all these guys on this Skittles Sweet Heat Camry. It's really fun to come out here with new products and showcase them in NASCAR for what everybody at Mars Confectionery does for us, and those are pretty cool. They're pretty good, too. So, if you're looking for a little heat, those babies are right.
Sweet heat for these Skittles here for the 18 team, Kelly.
For Brad Keselowski, he will start this one 5th. Brad, I'm sure you're not surprised to see Toyotas 1, 2, and 3, but how do you beat them come Sunday's race?
We just got to out-execute. To win races at this level, it takes speed, luck, and execution. To be fast and qualifying, it takes speed. We know we don't have the speed we need. But I got a hell of a team with Team Penske and the Miller Lite Ford Fusion, and we're going to do our best to out-execute them, and maybe we'll get a little bit of luck on our side. That won't hurt either.
Yeah, you could have used some luck last week, but you guys certainly showed some performance. Do you feel like this team has what it takes now that the playoffs are officially here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a multi-dimensional challenge to win a championship. It doesn't take just one thing, but you like to have all three.
All right, Brad will be competing for his second championship. Parker?
I'm with the second place guy, Denny Hamlin, but 3/10 to your teammate there. Where were you lacking right now? And I noticed all 1, 2, 3 for Toyotas.
Yeah, it's a great run for all of us, and not sure. We'll download. We'll look at data when I get back, but I'm assuming that amount of speed is probably driver stuff. So our Toyotas are really fast again. Thanks to Joe Gibbs Racing for giving us good cars, and Toyota for the great speed. And it's a great starting spot to start from, and we'll hopefully have a good Sunday.
Hopefully you learn some things in the NASCAR America NBCSN simulator they can apply tomorrow, maybe?
I hope so. I mean, I ran your car and seemed to handle fine. I just brought that right over here to Chicagoland. So thank you all for letting me come visit you guys. I love going to NBC. Their headquarters is great. Hopefully go back again, and seems to be good luck.
Kelly, using the simulator at NBC to get a little more track time.
Austin Dillon will start this one in the top 10. Austin, did you get everything you could out of that 3-car?
Yeah, I probably overdrove with that last round. I was pretty jacked up after the second round, and I got into 3 and just got a little push. I knew it was a good turn 2, and I got into 3 and just got a little tight. But proud of my Dow guys. It shows that we're here to fight for this playoff deal and bring a little speed for RCR. It's good to see. It's entertaining down here on pit road right now. I just heard Kyle Busch call Brad an idiot. So I'm hoping they get into it at least a couple times the next couple races and put that 3-car a little further forward on the playoff board.
You said even pre-race, or pre-qualifying, I should say, that you kind of like these guys were too busy focused on each other. Do you kind of like being an underdog somewhat in these playoffs?
Always. Underdog is a good place to be fighting from. You got nothing to lose, and that's how we're going to play this whole playoff system, just like that. Have fun, try and make less mistakes than everybody else.
All right, thank you, Austin.
So Austin will start 9th, but for Kyle Busch, his first pole at Chicagoland. And will it be the same story as his championship run back in 2015? He's off to a great start. And guys, the end of the day is going to be so spectacular because 7 drivers in the Verizon IndyCar Series, still mathematically possible, but this race right here, Steve, tight, 3 points.
Oh, without a doubt, you have Joseph Newgarden driving for Team Penske, who has the point lead. He's got 4 wins, 3 of them on the road course already this year. But how about Scott Dixon, Chip Ganassi Racing, chasing him, a 3-time Sonoma winner, 4-time champion. This battle is going to come down. Remember, double points at Sonoma. That makes a big difference. Brings a lot of other players into the mix.
Speaking of Chip Ganassi Racing, Kelly standing by with Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson will start Sunday's race from the 6th position. Kyle, though, you got a little bit unlucky there in round 2 when that red flag came out. How much did that hurt you in round 3 to go for the pole?
Yeah, it probably hurt. I'd like to think, but you never know. I don't know, maybe we could have went a 10th faster because I think I matched my lap from the first round. So still not bad to run 6th after making 4 runs, but the 18 was incredibly fast there. That was an amazing lap. But we've got a good race car. I felt like we learned some things today with our Target Chevy. So if we can get our race runs better, I think we'll have a good shot.
You picked up your 4th win of the season last week at Richmond, which ties Martin Truex Jr. for the most of the season. There's been all this talk pre-qualifying about the Toyotas being faster. How much are you buying into that, being a Chevy driver, competing up them week in, week out?
I mean, they're obviously a lot faster, for sure. I mean, look at 18's lap. But, it just shows that we all have to work harder. I think those Toyota people have been working extremely hard ever since they came in the sport. And not that anybody else hasn't, but, maybe it just means we all need to work better as a group. And we've definitely been the best Chevy team. So, I mean, I've ran with the pace of the 18 and 78, for most of the season. So, I mean, I haven't been complaining a lot. I know everybody else has, but I don't know. Competition's fun, and when people are that much faster than you, it makes you try harder as a driver. It makes your team work harder as a group and organization. So I don't know. I mean, it's fun to have that competition.
Thank you.
And Jeff, I can tell he's into it, but he sounded really impressed with that lap that Kyle Busch laid down.
It should have been. Everybody was.
Yeah.
And, I think that Kyle Larson, he's looking at the positive, saying, "Hey, look, I think I could run a little quicker." He qualified 6th. It's not like he's in a position where he's dug a hole that he can't get out of. Starting in 6th on the first race of the chase, on playoff, rather, I think that he's perfectly okay with that.
Kevin Harvick will start 4th. Kelly caught up with him.
He is the fastest Ford, fastest non-Toyota. I don't know how much is to be said for that, but did you get the lap you were looking for in the 4 car?
I got through 1 and 2 the best I had in the last round there, and just, I don't know if it was because I was going faster into turn 3, but I hit that first bump wrong, and once you hit that first bump wrong, the car doesn't turn like it needs to. But our Jimmy John's Ford is running good, and I'm happy with, the day that we had today. I think for us, we just have to go about not making any mistakes and really being thorough about everything that we do throughout the whole weekend. So we hadn't accomplished that the last 2 years here, so this has been a good place for us to really establish those goals and start off with being as thorough as possible here in Chicago.
Well, in fact, the last couple of years, it seems like your playoffs have been a story of sort of win or bust, and you've been able to put together the wins to get in the championship 4. Rodney tells me you guys might have to do some points racing. So have you guys kind of come in with a different mindset for the playoffs this year?
Well, there's going to be less people win than there will be people that score points throughout every round of the playoffs. So, I think points racing is a necessity with the way that these stages are to try to gather points in the stages. And if you're in position to win the race, that's fine too. But, I think for the next 6 weeks, I think you'll have to pay attention to the points and what you're doing and being thorough and not making mistakes. And even if our car will only run 4th, this weekend, finishing 4th is where we need to finish, and that's our goal.
All right, the 4 hopes to finish 4th or better.
Kelly, let's take a look at where the top 4 drivers, including Harvick, will line up for tomorrow night's race. He leads the pack, then Keselowski, then the non-playoff drivers, Logano and Boyer. Good runs for them.
Well, you look at Blaney, Stenhouse Jr., and Kurt Busch, 12th, 15th, 17th. Steve, the average winner here is qualified 15.6. So maybe those guys have them right where they want them.
Well, that's somewhere between Stenhouse and Newman, so maybe they both could use that stat.
Parker?
Well, guys, I'm down here at the 21 team. As you see Ryan Blaney and Jeremy Bullins talking right now, and I just spoke to Ryan. He didn't even know what the issue was, that they didn't turn a lap in the final round. And what I actually found out from talking to the team was that they ran out of fuel. Having to do that extra set of laps when the 77 spun out was not what they projected, and therefore they ran out of fuel. And Steve, I defer to you on that one about how close these teams are cutting it on fuel.
Well, you see how close. I mean, you look for every advantage possible. That is how Kyle Busch runs 0.3 of a second faster than everyone else, is they take everything they can. Jeremy Bullins had 3 runs figured. He didn't have 4 in the math. Ran out of gas in the final run.
Both crew chief and driver, first playoffs. We're back to wrap it up from Chicagoland. Now you know where to get all of your NASCAR news. It's NASCAR America, weekdays, 5 p.m. on NBCSN. And no doubt we'll be discussing the Chicagoland race, 400 miles on Sunday. That'll be Monday, but then look at the lineup the rest of the week, guys.
And Tony Stewart in Stanford. I'm there at the NBC studios with Tony. That'll be fun.
And then Wednesday, I'm at the Hall of Fame with Eric Jones. It's going to be great to talk to him. And then Thursday, I'm back on the show, and we're going to be looking ahead. Enough about Chicago. By Thursday, we're going to be talking about New Hampshire and the playoff contenders and previewing their performance at upcoming New Hampshire.
So let's talk about Miami. You all made some predictions recently. Jeff Burton, what do you see for the 4 drivers at Miami this year?
Well, here we go. Tough picks. Very full field. But I've got Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, and Martin Truex Jr. I think Truex, Kyle Larson, and Kyle Busch have been the best 3 all year long. I put Denny Hamlin in because I think Brad's right. I think the Toyotas are the fastest. And then my winner, I had Kyle Busch. His experience, he's been there, done that. I think, what I've seen with their speed, they're capable of doing it. I went with Kyle Busch.
Well, so it's funny, right? When you look at the picks, my picks are going to look a lot like yours, Jeff. I have Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex as well, the 3 favorites. But I took Kevin Harvick as my 4th pick. You heard his interview. I think he has the mindset, the correct way to grind through this playoffs without the fastest car. But now my championship pick, remember, it comes down to 1 race and 1 race only. The 42 of Kyle Larson. I think this racetrack has owed him one. He's led laps there in the spring. He can beat these other guys at Miami.
I love that Harvick pick. I love that tenacity. Question is car versus tenacity of the driver. Who knows where to end up?
10 weeks is a long time. A long time. You got to stay on top of your game the whole time.
Well, there's going to be at least 5 more Twitter wars, so you got to pay attention to that, too. Hey, coming up next on NBCSN, Global Rallycross Seattle. Thanks for joining us here this afternoon from Chicagoland Speedway. We'll see you next time.